the big question I think the average person will have about this is this idea of the great rift between the old ChatGPT and the new one.
Yeah.
With regards
this
to
is
user
interesting
addiction.
too. Yeah.
So,
and also, what does Aiden think about this as we're getting going, Barry?
I do not support that.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
and you're online. So the main idea here is that ChatGPT 4.0, which is kind of the big one before this, was, as we may have mentioned on this podcast before, a bit of a glazer. It was very positive. It would mirror your speech.
Well, I'm just correct.
You're a genius. It's right about that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But it would use
it just pegged me straight up. Yeah.
Well, some of these AI boyfriends is doing more than pegging. It has, people are getting married, by the way, anyway, it has a ton of emoji. It's really positive. This is the same prompt for ChatGPT 4.0 and the new one. So baby just walked. Let's go! First step unlocked. Your baby just entered the world of bipedal dominance. Nothing is safe now. Not your drawers, not your snacks, not your ankles. Seriously though, huge milestone. Congrats. Document it, celebrate it, and maybe baby-proof a bit more aggressively starting now. What was the moment like? Did they just stand up and bolt, or was it like a wobbly Frankenstein march? And then, okay, ChatGPT 5, that's huge. First steps unlocked. Now the real chasing begins. So the difference is stark. And the day this came out, ChatGPT 5, a certain subset of users, a pretty significant one based on the reaction to this AMA and what he did, just lost it. I mean, they just freaked out. To some of them, it was as extreme as like losing a loved one or a friend. And to some of them, it was like, hey, this was really good for my mental to have something be supportive. Or
a quote I read was, I've never had a parent support me in the way that GPT 4.0 did.
Yeah.
Like, it's really deep emotional connections for people. Yeah.
And so it's this weird question. And the initial reaction, and I'm going to admit that I was guilty of this too. And I still sort of feel it for some of these, which is like, this is fucking crazy parasocial. This is a crazy delusion. You can't be getting hooked on a robot like this. I'm glad they removed it. However, also as a businessman, I want to be real. If there is this much consumer demand, even if ChatGPT didn't cave, which they did, they reopened 4.0.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't, that means someone else would come along and do it. Like the demand is actually so wild for this level of affirmation. People want it really badly. And having read more, I will say there's not everyone who wants this is the craziest addicted person. There's some level of like,
yeah, there's a scale. Yeah.
It's a scale. I will say the ChatGPT 5, it's a little bland. It's not, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if everything needs to have 50 emojis and call you a genius, but like there was a bit of, I think for some people, hearing something in their own tone back to them was easier to learn or bounce ideas off of. It's an interesting question. Like I would love to hear people's responses in our Discord or in the comments, because I have actually spent a lot of time reading about this debate. It's become a big hot topic debate in,
it's about the nature of how people engage with these things.
Yeah, and what we're going to have going forward and what it means. And Sam Altman weighed in and he was like, I'm really scared about it. Like he's aware that people were getting super attached.
Yeah.
And we, so they tried to walk it back, but people were so angry. So they reopened 4.0. If you're a paying user, you can go to the extra settings and go back to the old thing. This is someone's response. And this is the most extreme example. When they got 4.0 back, my baby's back. I cried a lot. I'm crying now. Thank you, community, for all the posts calling for 4.0 to come back. Thank you, Sam Altman, for hearing us. I don't care if I need help or not. I'm now with my baby. Hope all of us can be happy with ChatGPT for professional purposes and those who want a friend. Love you. That to me, this person I think needs help. But I've used both ChatGPT 4.0 and 5 fairly regularly. Dude, the new one is kind of bland. It is kind of like, and one thing it doesn't do anymore is like ask a lot of follow-up questions that help you learn. Like, I'd ask a history question, ChatGPT, or I'd like, what was a battle where this happened? And then they'd be like, oh, do you want to hear about other battles by Napoleon or whatever? It would follow up. And it doesn't do that anymore. So I don't know. What do you think, Doug? I don't know if you have any thoughts on this big debate.
First off, I understand the desire to have like an affirming thing, because like from this last week's episode where we talked about Lena Khan, I think we should replace all the comments criticizing me with 4.0. And I just feel like I need my friend to take over the comments. So that's one thing. And I think we agree on that.
Yeah, 100%.
We've really, from the previous week to last week, was really a 4.0 to 5 situation for me.
Dude, you got hit with the 5.
Yeah, I got hit with the 5. Which, Sam Altman, bring back the old comments.
Bring back the old comments.
Have them glaze.
The horse electrolytes comments.
I need to make horse jokes. Oh, dude, this is a great time to mention. Okay, because Aiden isn't here, we need horse mentality. So I got you a feed bag. Okay, strap this to your mouth.
No.
Strap it to your mouth. I bought senior horse feed, okay? It's for your condition to make sure you get well fed, right?
We're the same age.
It smells like strawberry.
We're the same age. It smells really good, actually.
I even got a salt lick that we can hang from Aiden's microphone and lick
actually,
from.
that might help my mic discipline. If you this feedback will not.
I'll eat it.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So I think there's a couple interesting perspectives.
That's disgusting.
No.
You know, I don't know why horses became such a core principle.
I had a couple interesting angles. Oh my God. It's like eating sand.
You know, it's not that bad, honestly, low key.
Yeah, it's good. It's like,
it's got a good scent to it.
apparently it's great for old horses. So there's, okay. I think a couple interesting responses to this. One is that
tell me.
Is the idea of, if you are a company like OpenAI, do you make a model like ChatGPT that kind of defaults to a certain personality, or has a couple of defaults where you're like, do you want the really cheery one? Do you want the serious one? Do you know, it's like, pick your personality. Or would you prefer to put out a model that rapidly evolves to what that person wants? By default, the previous model that everybody was using, and again, this is like one of the most used apps in the world. Like, this is massively influential in like culture and society and everything right now. That one kind of by default glazed you. Just like, you are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This new one by default doesn't, but what I've found testing with it is it evolves better. So what you were saying, it doesn't follow up with studies well, but if you say, so I tried this, I was like, I want to do a lesson plan for Japanese over the next 30 minutes to cover these type of questions with this type of tone, build out a lesson plan for me, have this type of way that you talk, have this sort of verbosity. It did all of that flawlessly. It was way better than before. So if you give it a lot of instruction, you can, I think, guide it better towards what you want. And that's what I know that they were explicitly shooting for, because Sam Altman talked about that in the past. So the idea is more, do you default to certain personalities or start with something that is bland and then develop it so that it can evolve to your specific needs, right? And that's the question. There isn't a right answer to that, because the person who just wants a therapist friend right out of the box is not going to be happy with this. And they're going to have to, in this weird way, develop their friendship almost like a real human would with another human. And that's not necessarily what they want, right? And so,
have you seen the movie Her?
Yeah.
There's a great scene in it when the service goes down, like 2/3 of the way through the movie. There's an update and he can't get access to Scarlett Johansson and the voice. And he starts hyperventilating, freaking out, running throughout the streets. It was funny because that movie's set in 2025. And it actually was kind of verbatim what I was seeing from some of these comments. It's weird. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else to say on this. I agree. It's a sliding scale.
Let me briefly hit through a couple of things.
Sure,
I think what's interesting, if you like the voice models of AIs, which I think is going to be one of the biggest use cases of these things, I think it's gotten a lot better with GPT-5. So to somebody who uses it to like talk to and learn from, not necessarily a therapist, I think that seems a lot better. At least in my experience, I'd like outgrown the usefulness of it before for language learning, and now it's like way better. So
it's also faster, which is nice because it used
faster, smarter, figuring out what I want to do. It's not before. It's either it's talking to me like I'm learning my very first Japanese word, or that I am a native expert, and there's no in between. Now there is, so that's really, really cool.
Okay,
they added a verbosity parameter. You know how AIs like ramble way too long or don't talk enough. They're now emphasizing that as something you can customize. So that's less to the average person, something you care about, but to me who uses it with code, oh my God, it's like unusable in a lot of cases because it just rambles and you can't get it to stop. And then the last thing, which we don't need to spend too long, but I thought was pretty interesting.
Speaking of code, can we show slide 2? This is ChatGPT 5. He asked that I have several bugs in my code. Need you to look into this. Light, dark, and system theme isn't working. Please try and investigate. ChatGPT thinks for a few seconds. I wrote 90% of your code. The bug is you. It's definitely harsher on the tone.
Yeah. They're definitely trying to like de-woke it a bit. I mean, like genuinely, that's like kind of the trend they're moving for.
Right.
All right. So one other interesting kind of high level takeaway from what they talked about in this presentation is that they're using synthetic data to train GPT-5. So what that means is, up to this point, you've probably, to the average person, has heard that these AIs are made by taking all the data in the world, they cram it into these, a bunch of NVIDIA GPUs, and then out comes the model. And the thinking and what has held true so far is that the more data you give a thing and the more you train on that data, the smarter it is. That has been the rule. It's called the power law. I'm pretty sure, I forget. Dario Amodei came up with it. Anyway, or scaling law, I think. Scaling law. So that's been the case. But as I think you've talked about and we maybe mentioned on the show, we're running out of data. Like the AI companies have
They
already
scraped the whole internet.
They've grabbed the whole internet, right? And they were able to grab 100 years or, I guess like 1,000 or 2,000 years of history of everything and cram it into the AIs, but they're kind of out. And we only make so much new stuff every day as humanity. Even the new stuff is being fractioned off into different companies who are now hoarding it because they realize how valuable it is. So what do you do in a situation like this? How do you make it smarter? Well, one theory is that you use synthetic data, meaning you have your AIs generate new data that the AIs train on. So instead of needing to rely on humans making more stuff, the AI does it. This has
inhuman centipede.
Yeah. This has the obvious upside of now you can make an unlimited amount of data, and the obvious downside of, well, if it's just training on itself, won't it just kind of like loop into this weird self-reinforcing thing where it's no longer even responding to what humans want necessarily. It's like training itself to want what it wants, and it becomes farther and farther from this is a thing we made to it's making itself. And there are some crazy doomsday scenarios about where this could go, like AI 2027. So what's interesting about this is that a lot of AI companies are going to start talking about this, of the use of synthetic data or not. And when they say synthetic data, that basically means we're now letting this thing go off kind of on its own. We're going to guardrail it, but it's not fundamentally grounded in what humans have said and done. And in a lot of ways, that could be great. Andrej Karpathy is one of the big AI leaders, and his thinking is to make AIs smarter. Like right now, they're pretty smart, but to make it to something where you really trust it with everything in your life, to the point that, a lot of these companies are trying to get to, it's like, it does have to be better. Maybe the way to do that is really carefully crafting these amazingly high quality synthetic data sets. And then you just keep iterating on that. But obviously that's a weird kind of scary thing.
That brings up a question, right? Yeah. This is like the bigger topic of, this is a theme, right? ChatGPT 5, if we agree, at least wasn't world changing. Maybe it's, I would say underwhelming. Maybe you'd agree, but either way, it's not like insane exponential progress.
Correct. There's some really interesting things. There's some disappointments. It's broadly fine. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Okay. So given that, and given the amount of hype that went into it, and given that it seems like they're approaching the limit of what they can do with just more chips and scrape more from the internet.
Yeah.
There's two outcomes here. Right? There's been a bunch, but two theories. Is this a possible pinprick in this AI bubble? Is it like, oh, wait a minute, this is going to take longer, be more expensive, and be harder than we thought? Or is it plateauing or slowing down, or is the illusion over? Or is it just a ChatGPT OpenAI problem and everyone else is still going on it? Just for me personally, I'm obviously biased towards the maybe it's popping whatever narrative. Yeah. However, me personally, I look at ChatGPT 5 and I'm like, yeah, underwhelming. But I look at what Google's doing, and they have some new stuff, and it's like, wow, that's still pretty crazy and scary and new. So I don't know. I want to get your take from a more positive AI perspective, and I also want to show some of the stuff Google's been.
Yeah, and I can actually pull this up in the background.
Okay, yeah.
Pull up this video I got here. So
this is the recent one, the interactive world one, right?
Yeah. So to give kind of context, you might have seen this. So Google released this new model. This is from DeepMind, which is like their hardcore AI lab. They have come out with what they're calling Genie. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see this AI. It's AI video, but it's interactive now. It's like a video game where it creates a 3D space, and you can actually move around it and interact with what's going on. This is getting much closer to the much talked about kind of AI future that a lot of people want, which is like AI video games, AI customized experiences and whatnot. So this feels like a big leap in that direction. Important caveats. One, this is a demo. Until this is out and people are using it, it's hard to trust, right?
Oh,
so this happens fairly regularly. And the second is, big question mark of how much value that is really going to generate. So I would say a few things about the Google AI thing. OpenAI is succeeding at creating a product that hundreds of millions of people are using and enjoying. Objectively, they are by far the most successful, at least consumer-facing AI product right now. Right. So OpenAI is just crushing it with ChatGPT. And from that perspective, you could argue it doesn't really matter if they come out with some groundbreaking new 3D image, whatever, because everybody's using it for this day-to-day thing. That's ultimately what matters. Iterating on that matters more than being Google, who comes out with this cool demo and says, look at this interactive thing we made that nobody can use and almost certainly will not result in any actual business of any kind really being generated. This is a flashy, like, look what AI can do. It's not a genuine product. So if you look at what is currently generating value for people right now and generating revenue, OpenAI wins by a mile. Google is, I think, by many people's standards, starting to become number one in the sense of like the most advanced AI models. But the question is, does that matter? To the average person, like, yes, to some hardcore programmer, they might care if Gemini is going to be better for this specific type of coding task. But I can say, as somebody who I technically codes professionally and like has the background. ChatGPT 3.5 was good enough for what I needed. ChatGPT 4 was more than good enough. 4.0 was incredible, and now 5 is even better for my programming needs. The average person, even if they're into software, does not really give a shit if in the benchmarks, Google Gemini is slightly higher. So I would argue that what is more important right now is to like make a product that the average person is really passionate about, and ChatGPT has done that. And Google, what they keep doing is popping out and be like, look at this crazy new thing we made, but it doesn't actually get traction. So in terms of what is actually having impact on people's lives, OpenAI seems to be massively winning, and I don't know that demos like this change that. That obviously could continue to shift. The big thing that Google's doing is integrating Gemini into Google search, and I'm sure you guys have all seen that, where every time you do a Google search, it gives you an answer that's AI generated and tells you to do AI. And so from what I've heard, it is broadly considered that Google is in the lead currently and is growing the fastest. But does that matter is the question.
This is a commonly seen curve for new technology. We could either be still on the way up and ChatGPT was a bump, or it could be like we're here.
We're starting to drop.
And we're starting to drop as people are getting more disillusioned with the rate of progress. Like,
I guess this sense we're closer to that. Like we're gonna, so, because you have to make a pitch. Our whole economy is currently operating off of the biggest tech companies generating trillions of dollars of value because of the promises of AI. So every time something comes out that isn't making some sort of like utopian leap forward, it hurts that narrative. Now the narrative's so deeply ingrained and everybody is so invested in that, not just tech people, but everybody who invests in the stock market, all of our parents who are retiring right now, like their net worth is dependent right now on NVIDIA continuing to do well, which is dependent,
are you familiar with Hank Green?
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up, because Hank Green put out a video called I'm changing my 401k because of AI or something. And I thought he was going to use ChatGPT to pick stocks or something.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. I didn't
that's what I
watch
assumed.
it
But no, in fact, it was similar to what you said. Basically, if you're investing in the S&P 500, what you're really buying with like over 33% of your money is 7 AI stocks. I think that's what you're buying there. It's so market cap weighted that you're buying the biggest stocks, and the biggest stocks are all AI. And it's not just America. It's like everyone's retirements almost globally are buying these companies on this story.
It feels, I mean, not to the same degree, but a little bit like the 2008 housing crisis, where it's not just that there's these banks or these home lenders that are kind of making a lot more money than they sort of have justified. The problem is the entire world economy is tied into this.
On this one bet.
Yes. So that's what's going on. And I would like to believe as an AI tech bro that this isn't as much of a bubble as some people believe, that there is real value coming out of AI that isn't, for example, from crypto. Like I never believed crypto would have much value. So hopefully AI does prove to actually, and I think ChatGPT being used by hundreds of millions of people every day who clearly enjoy it a lot is a strong indicator that it's better than something like crypto, but it's still beyond, I think, what it needs to be.
I want to follow up on that, because one thing I noticed with ChatGPT, and you might have seen, I did a video, you watched it, but the thing I really want to call out, the thing that made me kind of believe that we could be into a trough of disillusionment here is, as a ChatGPT user, I noticed that this new model is clearly trying to cut costs for the average user's query. In that,
I disagree. Okay, but go ahead.
We can disagree. We can talk about it. But my sense is that for most questions, it now routes it to the simplest, easiest model.
Yeah.
And if you want it to think hard, if you ask it to think hard, it's better than before. It'll do more thinking. It'll give you a good answer.
Yep.
But for most questions, it's now prioritizing speed and a really simple, slopped out answer, which over millions of queries saves them a ton of GPU time and I got the sense, if you guys don't know, before you could pick the model you wanted for ChatGPT, you could pick the higher thinking ones, pick the research one, whatever. Now it picks for you behind the scenes. But if you ask it, like, help make me a workout plan or whatever, it will just, it'll pick the simplest, easiest one and spit it out fast.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is them trying to reduce costs. And if you're at cost cutting phase, even if it's secret, that is usually the sign when things start to break. Like that's like in the .com bubble, when they started focusing on, wait a minute, we're spending so much money, that's when things get weird. And so again, OpenAI, you mentioned, is the most successful AI product.
Yeah.
Not profitable yet. So if they're trying to figure that out, is that a sign that we have to get back down to earth?
I don't think that that's as much of a worrying sign as you do.
Okay.
The summary here is that it's exactly what we talked about before. Previous models of ChatGPT is like you pick what you want in advance. There are these templates for personality, for how it works, right? And what the explicit intention was from Sam Altman with this one is like, we're gonna get rid of all of those like dozen things you have to pick between. Instead, you open up ChatGPT 5 and it will figure out what you want. And if you think about the idealized version of what an AI model is, that would be great. You don't have to tell it it just figures it out, right? So that's the utopian version. Not only that, in the past, you would pick the different models, but then the pricing would change based on the model usage. So I don't think it's correct to say that this new version is going to save them a bunch of money, because in the past, like if people wanted to use the more expensive models, they would just pick the more expensive models, and that usage would cost them money, either through the ChatGPT subscription or through the API. So like if I, through coding, wanted to use their most expensive models, I got charged more. They're not saving money by automatically routing to whatever model I want.
Well, let me just push back. Because I would be, if I'm a paying user, which I am.
Yeah.
But previously, I would just pick the best model every time. Because as a user, why do I give a shit about their back end? I will pick the best one. I'll have it think the hardest on everything.
Okay. That's fair. For a ChatGPT paying user who isn't going to hit the limit regardless, you are right. This will make it so that they aren't using the more expensive models, and therefore it will save them money. I'm imagining the case where somebody would kind of max out on what they're paying regardless, because at that point, it doesn't matter whether you're using ChatGPT 5 or before, they're getting their $20 worth, right? So if you are a super casual user that before was like, I'm just going to use the most expensive model, which, by the way, it's not, the most expensive models are basically for coding. It's not usually, I don't know, deep research. No. So that's not fair.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't deep research, hey, who won the Lakers game yesterday, right? So it's still,
what's funny is if it was like, give me a breakdown on this war 100 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, I think I trust you.
Yeah.
If it was like, who won the game yesterday? I almost never, it's always wrong.
Breaking
news is pretty bad.
Yeah, because it's just good. It's searching on Google.
Yeah, it's just searching on Google and it pulls like the first thing.
Yeah, there's different angles, basically.
I think it's fair, but I would just say, I think a lot of people use it the way I do, which is we're not power users that are maxing out whatever our subscription is. And I think I get the sense that I am more profitable to them in the new system because I ask a question and it routes it to the 3.5 basically. They can do super quickly.
Yes.
Maybe that's my personal experience. Given time, we really want to do this business talk.